Today I'll be walking you through a comprehensive use case where we'll sequence multiple Altavize tools to complete our analysis workflow and produce a clean final output. We'll look at how these tools can be used together to streamline the process, minimize manual effort, and generate insights effectively. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at our data set. What we have here on the screen is a series of 1,000 responses to a Federal Trade Commission request for comment on the potential for banning non-compete clauses in the US. With these comments, we have a variety of viewpoints expressed regarding certain legal and economic aspects, as well as industries affected. What we'll look to do is use the Altavize tools to create one slide output where someone who hasn't looked through the data set can quickly get a comprehensive idea of the scope and scale of the responses and perhaps how to move forward from them. I've gone ahead and blanked out the slide that I want to create. With this slide, I want to show both a quantitative and a qualitative overview of these 1,000 FTC comments. So with that, I'll look to do some sort of summary bar chart on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, I want to pull out a select bunch of quotes for the reader to review. The first tool we'll use is the category generator. This tool is specifically designed for getting started with data sets like this. We'll get started by just entering the data. So we have the 1,000 comments. The categorization scope will just be the area of concern expressed in the comment. All right, so we have our results back. And what stands out to me here is that even with 3 categories, I think we're about as Mises as we're going to get with this. So I'm going to go ahead and actually select these 3 categories. Now let's go through and actually categorize our data. I'm going to drop our 3 categories in there. Switch over to the data categorization tool. While we have it selected, we'll put our categories in there. And then again, we will categorize our data. And then the instructions here will be, all right, that's all we need to do. Let's run the analysis. All right, so we have our results back. Let's quickly go through the confidence scores and just see if there's anything we need to address before we use the data to make our graph. To sort by confidence score, smallest to largest. For this result to have the lowest confidence score of 0.569, usually we see a lot lower confidence scores on these categorization scopes. And part of the reason for that is just because these comments are so long, the models have that much more context to create the right categorization. Because we didn't choose an exclusively Mises categorization like industry spoken about in there or anything, we just went with a broader area of concern expressed, we see that there's some overlap between healthcare and impact on workers' rights. But it looks like generally the model, what it did is every time a healthcare comment was expressed, it went with the healthcare. So what we'll do is we'll take just the item and the response and we'll create a pivot table. All right, and our row will be the item and our count will be here. And as you can see, the impact on workers' rights and mobility was by far the largest. From our pivot table, it's pretty easy then to jump into a bar chart. So let's go over to our slide and insert that. So we'll get rid of our blocker. And I'm going to paste in the final version. Skip ahead. All right. And so there we have it. With just a couple clicks within Altavize, we're ready to create a bar chart showing the summary of the FTC comments. All right, but now let's move on to the qualitative side and look for a specific series of quotes that might provide a richer perspective on the summary chart that we see on the left. So let's dive into that. We'll return back to our data set. Okay, and what I'm going to do is quickly actually move all of these responses 1 column over. And then I am going to set up our uniqueness thing. So what we'll do is we're going to use the Uniqueness Quantification Tool. And what that's going to do is examine all of the comments and then provide a score of how similar it is to other results in the data set. And what that should do is allow us to filter for some of the more unique options, and we'll pull direct quotes from there for use in our slide. So let's run that tool. So we just put the data range in and press run analysis. All right, so we have our uniqueness scores back now. So let's sort by those. We have our uniqueness scores back, so let's resort based on the uniqueness score. Let's do largest to smallest. Number of 1 means the most unique, and number of 0 means the least. So now you're not going to get everything you need to fill in a slide with quality text right from the beginning based on the uniqueness. You still will need to provide a little personal judgment while filtering through, just because, again, there will be varying quality in the more unique responses. All right. So I am just going to flip through. This one right here feels interesting, talking about the impact that franchise owners have and the inability to open up new restaurants as a result of their franchise agreements with non-compete clauses. This one is interesting. I personally didn't know that the construction industry was a place where non-compete clauses could be enacted, but here we go. So one in the service industry, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to put these together and we'll just drop these in the slide. So let's go take a look at how that would look. All right, so what we have here is the qualitative side with quotes filled in from various different industries, highlighted by our uniqueness score tool with Altavize. Again, we have that franchise, we have our technicians, we have construction industry, accounting, and the service industry to kind of augment the analysis that we have on the left-hand side. All right, so now that we have the content for the slide, let's just quickly jump to a version of the slide where I've filled in all the titles and subtitles. Here we have our final slide with everything filled in. And as you can see, with just a couple clicks of the Altavize tool, we were able to create the content necessary to create a comprehensive summary of the FTC data with over 1,000 comments. So that's the demo. If you're interested in following along, I'll have the original data set available for you to download and play with on yourself. And we'll be running through more use cases shortly. Thanks for tuning in.